Hey everybody, Dave here from Wags Automotive again, and we got the floor in. Woohoo! Finally. So yesterday I worked on the floor, got it all welded in for the most part, and obviously I can't finish it because I'm waiting on the media blasting to be done before I can do all of it. But let's go around and I'll show you what I did, and I got a confession to make about something, and I got a couple things, cool things about this truck that I just found out that are kind of cool. So I'll share those with you. Okay. Let's get started. So first of all, let's kind of look at this truck a little bit. So this morning I was messing with the front brakes on it because this wheel wouldn't spin very well. It was hard to roll the truck with the wheel. The brake was tight. So I took this brake apart and loosened up the brake adjusting nut. And one thing I found out that's kind of cool that I didn't know, these trucks actually had roller bearings in them. Not the what do you call the other ones? No, the new ones are roller bearings. These are round bearings. So it has round bearings in it instead of roller bearings. More modern vehicles that have wheel bearings in them have got like a rectangular shaped bearing that rolls on a race. And these are actually roller bearing or round bearings. It's kind of cool. So just very interesting to know that. I didn't know that. Another thing I found out is this truck has got S10 wheels on it, and they're 5 on 4 3/4. It's got 5 lug wheels, and even the rear axle is a 5 lug. So I was talking to someone about this, and if you wanted to switch this truck back in the day, if you wanted to switch these trucks from a 6 lug, because they all came from the factory with 6 lugs until, I don't know, the late 40s, early 50s, maybe up into the late 50s, I don't remember. But anyhow, if you wanted to switch them to a 5 lug wheel, all you had to do to switch it to a 5 lug wheel was go to the junkyard, find a wrecked car that had 5 lug wheels on it, take the brake drums off, and the brake drums were the same between the car and the truck. So you just take the brake drum off the car, put it on the truck, and you got 5 lug wheels. Now in the back, I told you guys that this rear axle, I thought was a newer axle because it's 5 lug. It's got, well, over here you can see it's got a Chevy Rally wheel on it there. And when you look at the date code on it, it says A29. So I assumed it was a 1949. Well, I found out that it's not, because they were still using torque tube axles in 1949. This axle is actually 1959. So it's 10 years newer than I thought it was, which is cool. So this truck has kind of got a conglomeration of parts on it. So it's got a 54 235 engine in it that's been rebuilt. It's got a 1950 transmission in it, and it's got a 1959 rear axle in it. So this truck's obviously had some work done to it over the years, had some parts replaced on it. They were trying to keep it going. But anyhow, that's kind of cool. I just thought you guys might want to know that. Oh, and one more thing. This is kind of a fun fact if you guys don't know. So this brake drum has got a spring wrapped all the way around it. Now, why in the world would you put a spring on a brake drum? Well, I can tell you that Chevrolet, and maybe the other manufacturers too, I don't remember, but Chevrolet was having a problem with harmonic noises in their front ends back when they put drum brakes on vehicles, and they started putting more powerful engines in them. They started getting higher speeds on them. They started having strange noises in the front end, harmonic noises coming from the brakes. So the solution to solve that was to take a spring and wrap it around the brake drum, and the spring would actually, the only purpose of that spring is to absorb those harmonic vibrations and stop that noise, absorb that noise. And it actually worked, because they use them springs around the brake drums all the way up into the 60s. Most 70s cars don't have them, but I've seen 60s cars with them on them. So they worked for a long time, but then I think they redesigned the brakes and got it figured out to where they didn't need the spring anymore, so they quit using it. But that's why on an old car, I always wondered what that was, and I found out that that's what that's for. Like, why would you put a spring around a brake drum? Well, that's what it's for, is to absorb harmonic vibrations and to quiet the brake noise that you hear when you're driving down the road. Okay, anyhow, back to the floor. Okay, so here we go with the floor. So on the passenger side here, I got it welded in there. I don't have it welded in fully, but I got it welded in enough that I can pull the frame, or the cab off the frame now and not worry about anything moving. At the front here, I got it welded. There's a hole on the floor pan inside. I welded that hole shut and welded along the edge there, so it's good there. And in the back, I welded, as you can see, where I welded behind. You know, I told you guys I was going to weld back behind here, so I welded all the way around. You can see my weld marks, so I welded that solid all the way around. So this is now welded. This far is double thickness. So this B-pillar is very strong now. And I took my square and I made sure that, as you can see, looks pretty good there. It's not quite perfect, but it's very close. I'm happy with that. And as I told you before, I took the cab corners off and I bent this. I took a hammer and a punch and I bent that in and welded that all the way down solid. And I went ahead and welded this shut because there's actually a little notch right here, so I don't really need that there. And I wanted to make this strong as I could, so I welded that shut. I welded the brace onto the back of the floor pan there. And then at the front, I welded it at the top. And as much as I could on the bottom, there's a pretty big gap here. I can almost stick my finger in there, and it would be really hard to fill that in with weld. And it's welded solid on the back, so it ain't going anywhere. So I'm just going to put seam sealer in that and seal it up. So that's good. Welded the brace here on this to the floor pan on the inside the same way. So now this cab is completely mounted to the frame. I mean, to the floor pan. So it's looking real good there. And again, this side here, welded the front, you know, same thing. And my door gaps, you can see my door gaps still are looking good. And, you know, welded this one the same way, welded that one the same way, welded it on the back side, you know, back there. You can see it's welded solid. So this is all welded in, welded that brace in there, and I also welded the braces on the back side, welded them there, so they're good. So it's all welded in now and ready to go. So I'm ready at this point to pull the frame back off, or pull the cab back off the frame. I thought about taking and cutting this out and replacing it with those pieces I got there, but I think I want to wait till after I sandblast, or after I media blast, I should say, because I want to fit these first and make sure they're going to fit before I start cutting on that. So I think my next step is to lift the cab up and work on putting these cab corners on. And I think probably what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to end up just cutting the cab corner all the way down there and piecing it together. And I want to do that because I'm going to go back up north to the guy who I bought some parts from. There's a guy up there up north of Charlotte that has a shop that sells a lot of parts for these trucks. And if I need to get a second set of cab corners so I can piece them together to make one, which really sucks, but I'm going to try to cut these and make them work first. I'm probably going to work on that today. And if I get it done, I'll show you what my results are. But if I can't make it work, then I'm going to have to go buy a second set of cab corners and cut them to fit, because I don't want this to be, you know, wrong. So I want it to be right. And if I got to spend the extra money to make it right, then it's what I'll do. So it's just how I do things. Anyhow, so that's where we're at with the cab. I appreciate you guys watching. And hey, we're getting there, right? All right, we'll keep working on it. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye.